Okay, so let's just skip all the intro mumbo jumbo and get straight into this. With this one, the basic premise is just to reach the end and have a big lead on everyone else. Just get your lead and then just keep advancing on that lead. A few important things to note for this one is you just need to keep your momentum up. If you lose your momentum, someone will catch up to you, but you might take it back using these strategies and tricks I'm about to show you. So you can jump down this ramp, which will give you a slight speed boost, not much, but you risk falling over and it's hard to get back up in time without losing your lead. You generally want to take the path I took there and get launched ahead with this pink spinny things. You can get launched much further, but that was a decent launch. It wasn't a SpaceX shuttle launch, but it will do. Over here it's invulnerable. You can just go through this part of the fan and not get hit at all. On this side you just need to time it right. It's pretty easy, the timing for that. Over here you need to go right to the left and then dive as you go under the fan so you don't hit the fan, or you hit it going downwards. That just basically guarantees you'll go under the fan and you can gain a massive lead on everyone else. At this point you should be demolishing everyone in the lobby, and you can turn around, give a taunt, and then just head in. Okay, so just a few more important notes that will help you refine your technique. When you're going down this ramp, jumping is a risk. You might fall over. It's not 100% guaranteed that you'll land on your feet. The further out you are on these pink things, the further they will launch you. If you go towards the inside of the pink bars, they'll launch you with less speed. Use your momentum to boost you onto the sponges, and then you can jump on the sponge and jump on the platform without stopping at all and keep your momentum. With that fan, you just have to, it's basic timing. It's comes down to common sense and just raw timing. Whereas this fan, it's a bit of like a cheesy strategy. For this one, you look where the pink bar is before you jump, and if it's about to land where you're about to jump, just don't take the jump. Take the next jump afterwards. So what we essentially do by taking the center route is we cut off about 10 to 15 seconds of just raw jumping time or running time. Look how much time it takes the people who went left and right to get to where I was, compared to the people who just went straight down the center. Everyone who went left or right has to go through two extra platforms, whereas if you go straight down the center, you end up with this easy checkpoint on the platform before this one, and it's just two platforms straight to this final one. And you see me disconnect here, but that's just my luck. Happens a lot. Okay, so seesaws actually comes down to common sense mainly. It's not that complicated, to be honest. It's just like any other race. You want to be in front, and I'd say don't follow the pack on this one, because the pack generally gets you killed by overpopulating one seesaw, and when they overpopulate one seesaw, it just goes absolutely 100 degrees and you won't be climbing up it. So what you see me doing here at the start is heading towards the center white line. That's the safest point of the seesaw. If you head towards the center white line, you have options. You can either go left or right depending on which way it sways. So right here I deviate from the pack. They all go left and I go right, because I can make my own decisions if I go right. I don't have to rely on chance and luck from the pack. And as you can see, I make my way pretty much to first place by just heading by myself. And this guy decides to go left, so I go right at this point. And that ends up getting him eliminated and me passing first. I tip the yellow seesaw upwards and he just absolutely misses it and just slides in between pink and yellow. And again in this one, massive lead because I just followed the basic strategies. Now this is a prime example of what you don't want to be doing. You do not want to stick with the pack, especially if it's a giant pack of about like 10-20 people. You'll end up just dying instantly from just overpopulation on one ramp. You can see that ramp just went completely sideways. This blue ramp coming up is just, you just can't walk up that, and this is what's going to end up happening if you follow the pack. Luckily for these guys, there aren't that many people in their little pack that they've got going on. But if you do see a huge gathering of people, just stay away, head the opposite direction. Be patient for this one. I see a lot of people rushing, getting themselves killed by jumping way too early. There's no rush at the start. It takes quite a lot of time to get through this for some people, and you can usually breeze through it pretty easily. So the strategy for Fruit Shoot is incredibly simple. It's basically just like 2 or 3 things you need to keep in mind. The first thing is, right off the bat, when everyone's jumping off the ramp, don't follow them. Wait about 1 or 2 seconds for all the first wave of fruits to go by, then you can jump. I didn't do that, and you can see I hit the orange there and almost died. If I waited 1 more second, I would have gone over that orange and I would have landed safely. The second thing is just stick to the right hand side or left hand side. You're way safer on either side because these pink things will basically act as a ramp for the fruit. They'll just go over you instead of hitting you, unless it's a watermelon or a banana. If you get incredibly unlucky, those can still hit you even if they ramp over because they have a large hit area. Generally speaking, you should be safe if you stick to the right or left hand side, and you can get through it pretty fast. There's not really any speed boost from jumping. It might look like there is, but there's not. It's pretty much the same speed, and it's this one's pretty easy. I don't see any problems coming out from it, or any consistent failures. Now, for the most part, Hit Parade generally comes down to timing and common sense, but there is a tiny bit of strategy to it. So you see those yellow round things that you have to land on and walk across. If you land in the center of those, you'll be fine the rest of the way. The key is the landing and in this one. As long as you land in the center of the yellow, let's just call them rods, I don't know. You should be fine. I almost got knocked off there, but I landed pretty central, so I was okay. If you're the first one here, you might fall behind, but you should stay within top 3 places, and you can take your lead back on this part. If you can look ahead and see where this wall is at that point in time, you can predict where it's going to be and go towards the gap. For those balls, you just need to head in the opposite direction of where they're currently swinging, but don't stray too far, else you'll start going more sideways than forward and you'll lose your lead to someone else. And then when it comes down to the slippy pink hill, just tilt your camera upwards as much as you can, and then you can see where the bars are moving towards, and just try and avoid them, but don't stray too far across or else you'll lose momentum and speed. The only thing I can say for Jinx is it pretty much comes down to complete and utter dumb luck. Just run around and use these spinny platforms as a way to avoid getting tagged early. When you're on the spinny platforms, don't look down and look like in the middle of your screen. Have your camera positioned in the middle of your screen so you can see any oncoming enemies. As soon as you see like about 2 or 3 jinxed enemies coming towards you, just launch off the ramp into the center. If you're lucky, you'll land on the green part, or you'll land like I did just there, and you can avoid that ball. And then you can switch to this ramp if there's no one jinxed on it, and you can do the same thing and repeat that process until the round ends. If you do happen to get jinxed, I do have another strategy for that, but it just generally comes down to luck at that point. Over here I was abusing like the invulnerability point of the ball. If you stand at the corner, the ball cannot hit you because it just goes over your head. You can only do that for a certain amount of times until someone who's jinxed just sees you and easily tags you. So I just barely managed to survive the round here. If I went on 1 second longer, I would have definitely got jinxed. Now, Team Tails is a tricky one because it's a team-based activity. What I generally tend to do for Team Tails is let my teammate take the tail if I have it. And then I know I can steal a tail off the other team by the end of the round. So I just let my teammate have the tail and then I go hunting for the other team. If you know you're capable of stealing a tail before the round ends, then I'd definitely advise you to let one of your teammates have the tail, because you'll never know if you have competent teammates, and the only way you can find out is by losing it, and at that point it's too late if you've already lost or won. So it's just better to play it safe and let your teammate have a tail. If you see that your team's losing horribly, steal a tail from the opponent and then let your teammate have a tail. And then if they keep on losing that tail, then there's not really much you can do. Team-based activities in this game are a bit biased towards competent teammates and parties. I generally just say find someone and party up with them. That's the best way to ensure that you're gonna win. Apart from that, there's nothing else you can really do to get a 100% chance of victory. One tip I can give you is use these platforms as sort of like a roundabout to trick people on. You can go on these platforms and then just dive across the edges. You don't have to go through the hammers. You can just straight dive across the edges, and it saves a lot of time, and you can get away from enemies faster. This minigame takes me back all the way to Takeshi's Castle. That's a great game show, you should go watch it. This whole game actually just reminds me of Takeshi's Castle. They used to call this Knock Knock in Takeshi's Castle, and the same rules apply, and the same strategies. If you spawn at the front like I do in this one, do not be afraid to go for doors. Just absolutely ram into them, and if they don't open, then fair enough, you can go for a different one. But the worst that will happen is you'll lose 1 second of time, and that's about 2 places maximum if you're fast enough to recover. So in this clip, a combination of luck and just strategy takes over. There's little strategy involved apart from just absolutely sending it. This is where you need to just go full send and just run through these doors as fast as possible. There you can see I ran into a fake and it did not hurt me at all. I went back 1 place and I regained that place by going through another right door. Just have no fear. If you believe in the heart of the doors, you'll get through.
For the heart of the cards.
If you do get stuck behind, there's one top tip that will help you, and that's jumping and diving. You can jump and then wait about 1.5 seconds and you can delay your dive. And you can basically dive over everyone that's jumping into a door if you get stuck at a door. When it comes to Hoarders, I like to use a strategy called steal from the poor man until he has nothing left to steal. The basic concept of the strategy is you secure your own balls. Once you've got them, you look at which is the poorest team and you just infiltrate their base and then just absolutely demolish their supply of balls. You don't really need any teammates to implement this strategy, but it does help if you do have teammates. So here I see that we're running short on balls as yellow team, so I try and steal some of red team's balls. That doesn't go well for me, so I end up resorting to stealing blues because there was too many reds guarding theirs, and I saw that blue was already the poorest team. I ended up knocking one of blue's balls into our yellows, and then I thought might as well go for red because we look pretty safe at the moment. That red ball was heading towards ours, and I thought why not try and get both of these in. That one went towards ours and it ended up being our ball after that. I see one of ours leaking out, so I head towards that and try and nudge it back in. Our team loses this one, but I try and get it back. At this point blue is pretty desperate and they're trying everything they can to get their own balls. All we have to do is keep stealing from blue and blue will be disqualified. There is no first or second place really in this, there's only 2 winners and 1 loser. So you just have to make sure the one loser isn't you by stealing the other team's balls, whichever team that may be. Red is doing okay for themselves and we're doing okay. I see that blue has won and we have pretty much won it at that point. I honestly don't think a guide is necessary for this one. It's ridiculously easy, and if you're failing this, then I'm not sure what to tell you, but I'll try and help you as much as I can using this strategy here. So the first round there are only 2 options, either melon or apple for this one. For you it might be different, but for this time it's melon or apple. All you have to do is memorize 1 set of squares and you're done for this round. If there's loads of people on one tile, then just grab them and you should stay in place with them. For the second round, I believe there's 3 fruits that you have to memorize. So cherry, orange, cherry, melon, and apple. So those are the only 3 fruits that were there: cherry, melon, and apple. For this round, there are 4 fruits, I believe, if not maybe 5. Banana, grape, melon, and apple. And I think also cherry. Yeah, banana, grape, cherry, apple, melon. And the trick to this one is the one that's the least common is always going to be that tile. So look for the one that only has 2 tiles on the board and go for that one. This time it was cherry. Honestly, that's ridiculously easy, and if you're failing that, then I think you just need to take some memorization courses or read some books on memorization. Here's another one that's brain-numbingly easy.
I fly far into space as long as I am with you. The light in my bright eyes when you're near. The fluttering I feel in my chest when you are here. I can't explain this kind of love. It pulls me to you, I want it, I can't get enough. To share this precious.
All you have to do is just not fall down through the gaps. The rollers move incredibly slowly, so it's pretty hard to fall in between the gaps. These gaps are too wide to jump across unless you're facing downwards, so don't try to jump across them. Just play it safe and walk around from pink to blue, pink to blue. I'd say stick to either side, left side or right side, whichever one you feel more comfortable with. If you don't feel comfortable jumping across gaps, then just walk side to side from pink to blue. and that's all it is. Just keep moving side to side and avoiding the gaps. Okay, so for this one there is actually a logical and mathematical strategy that will work 100% of the time. You just have to imagine this whole circle is a clock, and the pink bar is the hour hand and the green is the minute. The minute always moves faster than the hour, so every time the hour hand goes around, the minute hand is going to be even further ahead. So all you have to do is move proportionally forward to how much the green hand will be ahead of the pink hand the next time it comes around. So you see me moving more forward as it goes around. It was near the end there, so I moved really far forward so I don't get clipped by it. In this clip I try and keep the green hand in the middle, so it's always on, assuming the pink hour hand is on 12 and 6, I try and keep the green on 3 or 4. Between that range, 3 and 5, so then I don't trip over it and fall off the clock. It's just basic like logic. So I just keep it, the faster it moves, the more I have to move across the clock. So the faster it gets, the more you have to move upwards and try and keep it in the middle. This strategy is 100% a guaranteed win, whereas standing still and jumping over the green bar is not. Eventually that green bar will catch up to the pink bar and they'll align perfectly and you can't jump over that while standing still. But you can pass this by standing still and jumping, but just not 100% of the time, like 30% of the time. Just depends on luck basically at that point. This one's what I like to call the absolute baller strategy. This is an alternate strategy to the clock strategy. This one consists of just pure ballerness. What you have to do is align yourself so that you're on the inner end of the green bar, and what you can do is either one of two things: ride the green bar as it's going along and aim your camera inwards so you don't just fly outwards, or two, you can actually jump on top of it and ride on top of it, and with that strategy you won't fall off and there's no risk of like falling off if you can land that. So eventually you'll be going fast enough that you can walk again. I chose to jump over, but I could have just rid it till the end. Apart from that, there's not really much else to it. You just have to aim your camera inwards so you don't fly outwards. This one's easier than jumping on top of it. For tiles, there's a bunch of strategies you can use. The ones I've found to be safest and the best are the ones that I used in this video. So I start off by diving 2 tiles across. If I get lucky, I'll land on a solid tile and I can take the lead. If not, then there's not really any damage done because it's just the start of the match. Then you just have to follow whoever's leading at that point, and you'll catch up to them in no time because they'll reach a stalemate where it's just people standing next to each other waiting for the next person to go ahead. When they get ahead that far, you just have to not be hesitant and just absolutely full send it, like I just did there. At this point, when you're near the end, you just need to stay safe and stay at the front, but not too close to the front where you'll get knocked off. this is the one minigame where you have to stay as a pack. Gate Crash is completely time-based. This is the one game where luck plays a minimal role. This completely depends on your skill and your timing. If you have decent timing, then you'll have no problem with this. As a general rule of thumb, for the first 2 or 3, you should head towards the one that's just opening. The one that was closed, and like run towards the one that's closed that's just about to open. The first 3. Like for that one, I headed to that way too late and it just closed. After the first 3, you need to head towards the ones that are closed right when you're next to them. They'll open up as soon as you get to them. Right here, I barely make it.
I'm looking for someone to hold, someone to care, someone who's there. I try to find someone who's me and knows how I be. 'Cause take it from me, I don't wanna be lonely.
So for egg scramble, there is a legitimate strategy to this, and it works for solo queuing as well. You can do this solo, and it should work effectively. It does work better with 2 or more teammates, but it still does work solo. When you start off, you want to grab an egg, and not your teammate. You want to grab an egg, and then just throw it at the side of the wall, and it'll bounce off into your territory. I got a really bad start, and I kept grabbing people instead of eggs. I managed to get one, and then I lost it instantly. Even if you have a really bad start, you can start going to the poorest team and then just start stealing their eggs. So I see that red is well defended and they have quite a lot of eggs, so I go to the other team and start stealing theirs instead. And there's a certain angle where if you can throw the ball, it will go straight to the center of the map. It's right in the center of their base. If you can jump right at the back and then throw the ball by clicking the dive button, you can throw the ball out of their base, and you can throw it at a pace where they can't bring it in fast enough. So you're throwing balls out 3 times faster than they're bringing them in, and they lose their all their balls instantly. I should really call them eggs because they're eggs. But essentially, this is the similar strat to the first one. I've proudly named this one "Rob the Poor Man Until He's Nothing But Bones and Ash." Because as you can see here, we rob blue until they have nothing left. And this is the basic strategy to winning. As long as you're not the loser, you will win. There's 2 winners, 1 loser. You just need to make sure you're not the loser. If you can have 2 teammates stealing balls off the poorest team, and then the rest of your team is defending your base, then you should be okay. Rock and roll, this is another risky one because it's team based. You never know what kind of team you're going to get. The maximum amount of people that should leave the ball and go sabotage the other team is 1 person. Never let more than 1 person out of your team go and sabotage the other teams. At the start you should all focus on pushing the ball forward, because if you can push the ball forward fast enough, you can win instantly. We have a decent pace and we're pushing it at a decent speed. When you're going up a ramp, try and jump into the ball so you can send it further along. Here you can see that blue and yellow are instantly going straight forward. Blue and yellow instantly pass and then red gets disqualified. If you can focus on pushing a ball straight off the ramp, then you've basically won the game. As long as your teammates don't get distracted and try and sabotage the other team. If you start losing severely, then sabotage the other team, but that as a last resort, nothing else. When it comes to slime climb, there are quite a few strategies and routes you can take, routes I mean, but he is the safest and best one that I found the most efficient. Quite a lot of people will tell you to take the first sponge up, but everyone goes for that and it's not efficient. So what I do instead is I just skip over the corner. The only time I take the first sponge is if I'm literally right at the front like then. But even then it's a bit risky because you might get hit by the yellow sponge that's pushing outwards. For this one you just have to have patience, just wait till that goes backwards, then it's basically just a case of 1-2. The same goes for these, just make sure if you want to be safe, just walk inwards until you can't anymore and then just yeet across the whole yellow thing. The trick to these ones is just land in the centre. As long as you land in the centre you'll be safe, just like before. The last one there I didn't land in the centre, but I was just about safe. The hammers, there's just a path which is completely safe, you just have to find that path, it's pretty easy to see. With those it's just 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, it's just a simple pattern. Try not to get knocked off there, I got a bit cocky and started rushing. Take it slow. It's safer to be on this side than it is to be on the inside because it's an instant elimination if you get knocked off into the pink lava. With these you just have to basically have decent timing. They're really slow and they're really easy to dodge. You just have to dive to the finish line once you pass the second one. For fall ball there's way too many strategies to cover in one video, so I'm just going to give you a summary of each strategy that works. Playing defensive does actually work in this game mode because if you've got a solid defense, the other team cannot score unless they constantly abuse the header trick. There's currently an exploit out which lets you abuse the header trick constantly. You can header the ball as it spawns in and send it straight to the opposite team's goal. You'll see our team use it shortly. Depending on how big your team is, usually there should be 3 players playing offense and 3 playing defense. It's usually about a 50-50 split. Unless your team is really big, then you should have about 60-40 split. 60 on offense, 40 on defense. At this point we've let 2 goals in and we need to regain those. So we start abusing the header trick. That's the header trick right there. As the ball's coming down you need to header it at the perfect time so it sends it into their goal. I messed that one up for us, so I sent it to the side by accident. In this clip I'm playing pretty defensively, not as aggressive as I usually do. You can also jump into the goals to respawn in the middle. This helps if they've just scored and you need to abuse the header trick right away. This is where I start abusing the header trick to a filthy level. It does get worse than this. Some people get to about 20-0 just using this one trick, because it's almost impossible to stop unless you've got a really good goalkeeper. The other team had a solid defense this match, but we eventually just overwhelmed them. That was the last goal we needed to win the game. Once it gets to overtime, just play full aggression. Dizzy Heights is one of those games that becomes incredibly easy once you memorize the basic pattern. Especially if you start at the front, it's so easy if you start at the front. So if you go down the left hand side, it's right, left, left. And then if you stray to the center, it's faster, but if you keep going on the left, it's safer. You just have to memorize which way those turn and then just react in time, and you'll fly past everyone. And try not to get hit by any of these balls, so just do the opposite of what I'm doing here. Even if you do get hit by the balls, they barely slow you down, only by about half a second. Just about a second actually. Memorize the pattern of the spinners and you pretty much got this one in the bag. When it comes to hoops, you just gotta do what you can for your team and then hope for the best. So just look for the space which is the least crowded and then just head towards there and jump through as many hoops as you can, as fast as possible. At the start, just look around and see if there's any hoops that spawn next to you. If not, then just run to a place where you know a hoop will spawn soon. Try not to stay around the center wheel too long, because sometimes stuff doesn't spawn there. Occasionally you'll get a glitch where hoops will constantly respawn. If you do see that happening, just take advantage of it. Just constantly look around with your camera to see where the new hoops are spawning. Shadows play a big role in this. You can see where hoops are about to spawn from their shadows. You can get there 1 second earlier from your rival. When it comes to these, you have to not jump, you have to just dive the ones that go like half off the ramps. If you jump, you'll miss them, you just have to dive through them and fall through. Block Party is the last game mode I have somewhat of a strategy for. What you basically want to be doing is staying in the back middle, so not the middle, not the front, near the back of the middle. If you stay near the front, you might get pushed off by a troll. If you go at the back, then you run the risk of getting knocked off easily by a random block that's moving fast. So just generally just stay in the middle or like the back of the middle. The most crowded place is the middle, which is why I tend to stay at the back of the middle. You can see how they're all grabbing each other. Grabbing each other is a good strategy when it's a thin line, but don't do it when it's like that, or else you'll get taken out like them. This one's pretty easy once you've done it a couple of times because you get the rhythm and you can easily maneuver around without getting grabbed. As long as you're not with the whole pack when you're jumping over these, then it's fine. You just need to stay at the back or front when you're jumping over these, but not too close to the front or else you'll just get pushed off. Here you can see I almost got stuck because the pack got in my way. And I managed to recover. If you feel like you're not going to make it, then you can jump and dive, or just dive. Anyways, thanks for watching. I just wanted to make this to give back to the community because I see a lot of people struggling in this game and they just give up and throw it away, never play it again. So I thought maybe I could help someone by making this guide or tutorial, whatever you want to call it. Anyways, peace out.